Hi guys, welcome to week 10 of our reading discussion spring session. Um, Today we're going to be looking at Unit 6. Just before that though, of course, I'll walk you through the PowerPoint that I've always got here just to double check everything. Your textbooks, I hope you're keeping up with the listening practice. You should be up to at least Unit 6 as well. The Zoom meetings, if you have a Wednesday class, okay, this week is a holiday. So we won't be doing Zoom this Wednesday. And I believe the same is true for May 19. Okay, so May 5th and May 19 if you have a Zoom with me. We won't be doing those classes for Zoom. However, your assignments will still be due in the morning, Wednesday mornings, as usual. So you should have, if you want the full day off, you should have them done on Tuesday instead. So please try hard to remember that. Let's see. This week's assignment, yes, Unit 6. I will be posting as usual. I might post it a little bit early just because of the holiday this week, or it might possibly go up on Thursday, but you can work on it in the meantime. As long as you can watch this video, you should have a pretty good understanding of where to head with the book. Make sure to finish early. I really am going to be cracking down on people who are late for minimal reason. Any technical difficulties, well, you should be quite proficient with the apps that we need and the formats that we follow by now. If you're not sure, you can always check back at the earlier videos. I've mentioned many times which formats are best and why. But if there's any more technical difficulties, you're going to probably lose points at least. So be careful and check your work before and after you submit. If you do have questions, of course, you can email me, but that takes a while. Please send me an Edmodo message first. Almost like a Facebook Messenger to send me a private message. Include your name, your number, I'm sure you have those already, but also your class, okay? So I can find you very quickly in my file. Okay, just a moment. Okay, guys. So Unit 6 is neurology. If you remember, I've mentioned a few times ology as a suffix means the study of. And neuro is basically talking about the mind, brain more specifically. And we're going to be looking at graphic organizers for our reading section, as well as classifying information in our critical thinking. For vocabulary, we'll be looking at phrasal verbs. You might have some experience already, but if you don't, that's okay. Our writing will be stating reasons and giving examples. And for our grammar, there will be gerunds and infinitives to look at. A little bit boring, but we'll take a look at how much we can cover in this lesson. Okay, are you a good decision maker? This is the unit question. And the first one we look at is what is an important decision you made recently, okay? Not long ago, recently, in your life? Was it a good decision? So, an important decision, it might have been the school that you selected, or maybe a job, or a volunteer, or It could be anything. It might be helping your friends or your family with something important. An important decision you made recently, okay, in the last year or two. Was it a good decision? Do you feel regret, or do you think it was a good decision and you feel that you've done well with your choice? Number 2, is it easy for you to make big decisions about your life, or is it difficult, and why? And number 3, look at the photo. What decision is the man making? Okay, so obviously the first 2 questions are very personal and honestly kind of a big kind of thought and answer opinion question. The third one relatively easy, but I'd like you to remember that we are writing down our thoughts for discussion class, right? So write down your opinion as best you can using full statements, full sentences. Again, a lot of you have decided to use the post-its, which are great. I can read them very carefully, and for a notebook. Okay, there's not a lot of room on this page here, so you might need one of those two to consider your thoughts and your full sentences. We're going to listen to the Q classroom, and there's a chart here. We want to take notes about each person, Marcus, Sophie, and Yuna. All right, so let's listen carefully.
Unit 6, Neurology, the Q classroom.
The Unit 6 question is, are you a good decision maker? Marcus, what do you think? Are you a good decision maker?
Well, sometimes. I think it depends on the situation.
That's interesting. What do you mean?
Well, when I have a lot of time to make a decision, I can make a good one. Like when I bought my car, I took a lot of time to research online and try different cars, and I picked the perfect one. But if I have to make a quick decision, sometimes it can go bad because there's just not enough time to think about everything.
Yes, I know what you mean. Time has a big influence on our decisions. Sophie, what about you? Are you a good decision maker?
I think so. My biggest decision was coming to school to learn English and get a degree. I'm learning a lot, and I'm getting closer to my goal. It was the right decision.
I'm glad to hear you're happy here at school. I think you made a good decision too, because you've made a lot of progress. And Yuna, what do you think? Are you a good decision maker?
Well, not recently.
Oh, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So last week I went down to the city and parked my car on a street near all the stores. Later, I come back and my car isn't there anymore. I had parked in a tow-away zone. I had to pay a lot of money to get my car back.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. However, I guess when we make bad decisions, it's not all bad because we learn from them, right?
Definitely. I won't do that again for sure. I learned my lesson the hard way.
Okay, a few expressions in there, but of course the decision that he or she made, okay, goes on the left column, and was it a good or a bad decision, and why? In some cases, you might say yes or no for different reasons, depending on the outcome. There is an IQ practice here, but after that, reading 1. Page 132, we can preview by reading the title, and then it says read the caption under the first photograph. Okay, so the title is The Lazy Brain, and the first caption under the first photograph is The Lazy Brain Prefers Elevators. All right, and what do you think the title means by the lazy brain? I you're thinking of the caption and the title. You might have, for instance, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when people take an elevator up or down, it doesn't matter, just one floor. They just take an elevator and they might be waiting there for 3 minutes just to, instead of taking the stairs, you know, which are right next to them, next to the elevators. It's just one of those things, because a lot of people are waiting for the elevators for like 7 or 8 floors, and a person is dragging it up or down to take them on one flight of stairs. Like, but that's the lazy brain, right? There's a quick right. What was an important decision you made recently? Did you make the right decision? A little bit like the first question we looked at. Okay. You can you don't have to write for 10 minutes, but you can write down a couple sentences. Obviously, you need at least 2 to complete this question. The vocabulary includes a few different words, including a verbal phrase, 2 of them. According to, okay, so preposition. Complex, that's an adjective. Efficient, experiment, function, make sense, pace, proof, rely on, and subject. Okay, all of those words will be in reading 1. You can practice your pronunciation if you'd like before you go through the reading. But the lazy brain, okay, starts on 133, finishes 134. Then they ask you to do some vocabulary work. Okay, you've done this all before. You might see a little bit of repetitive exercise in the units, but it's very helpful to work through the vocabulary. Make sure that you understand the different words. Complex, according to. Okay, you need to find each of the bold words. You might need to change the form or the tense and put them in correctly in the next section. Okay, A to J. There's a practice online, and then you can go to C, identify. So you want to circle the main idea, A, B, C, or D. What is the main idea of the article, or the major topic, whatever you'd like to call it. Categorize by true or false. Okay? If it is false, then you have to change the sentence to make it true. We've done that before. Explain. So here we write the paragraph number and then answer the question. And then F, analyze. Check if you think the situation uses lazy thinking or hard thinking. Okay, and by now you already know what that means, lazy thinking. Hard thinking would be a more difficult decision that takes some or requires some effort. Make a list of decisions you made today. Which ones do you think were lazy? Which ones were not lazy? Here's a fantastic discussion question. I'd like you all to write down just a few choices that you've made. Of course, there's not a lot of room, so you might need to write it down again and show me your list. Okay, and then there's some more IQ practice online. Write what you think. Are you a good decision maker? So here are some discussion questions I'd like you to ponder, okay, to think about. Do you think you are a lazy thinker when you make decisions? Why or why not? Number 2, when did you make a decision using hard thinking? Okay, a very long processed and difficult decision. Was it a good decision? And number 3, when you meet someone new, can you tell if the person is honest or not? How? honest? Are they telling you the truth? All right. You don't need a full paragraph. I think you just need a couple sentences for each of these discussion questions. The reading skill includes a graphic organizer. So you can look at the example here. Graphic organizers represent ideas with images such as diagrams, charts, tables, and timelines. Those are different kinds of graphic organizers. You use graphic organizers to see connections between ideas or remember main points or parts of a text. Drawing a graphic organizer can help you review a text you have read in preparation for a class or for a test. Scientific articles often show cause-effect or reason-result relationships. This reason-result organizer here shows the relationship between a reason, the brain wants to save energy, and its different results. So, if the brain wants to save energy, people might choose the elevator. A different result might be people walk at the most efficient pace for their body or their body type, and people do things fast. So here's an example of if your brain wants to save energy, what are the results? Okay, a little bit lazy. If you want to look at reading 1, okay, you want to pop in the main reason and what are the results based on reading 1. Okay. Then there's a few more, there's an extension unit, a few more things to think about. Read the paragraph from reading 1. Make a reason-result or graphic organizer to illustrate the main reason and its results. So if we use this small paragraph, what is the main reason? Okay, you can make a small graphic organizer of your own that points to which of these sentences is the main reason and which are its results. Reading 2, problem solvers. Which one are you? Okay, this is a magazine article about different ways that people solve problems. So we can preview by reading the title of the article and skim. Okay, read very quickly the first 2 paragraphs. What is the purpose of the article? So the title is obviously problem solvers. Which one are you? Okay, and there are a couple of paragraphs here, 1 and 2, that you can skim through to understand the kind of article this is. And what do you think 1, 2, or 3 is the purpose of this article? There's a quick write. So again, you'll have to write down a couple sentences here. When you have an assignment to do at school or at work, do you prefer to work alone, in a small group, or in a big group? Why? Okay, so some people prefer to work alone when they have a project at school. Often you have no choice, but would you prefer to work in a small group of 3 or 4 friends or a larger group, possibly the entire class? Think about your own answers. This is an opinion. Vocabulary includes, the vocabulary of reading 2 includes words such as arrogant, come up with, deal with, have a gift, impatient, move on, revolutionary, and view. Okay, there's another IQ practice, but whoops. Okay. Pressed the wrong button there. Take a look at the article. And when you are through looking at what type you are, there's a vocabulary review. Okay. Read the definitions and complete the sentences with the correct word, okay, in bold. Done this before. There's more online practice. Identify the main idea, A, B, C, or D. Categorize. So here we have positive characteristics, okay, good things, and negative characteristics, which are bad things. And then write the type of problem solver that you've just read about. Okay, there are different types of problem solvers from reading 2. What kind of people are categorized in as this kind of thinker, as this kind of problem solver? After you see both what they are capable of in a good way and capable of in a negative way, in a bad way. Okay. Look at the positive and negative characteristics of the 5 categories in D. Okay, we just finished. How are the types similar and different? Okay, questioners and ideators are similar because, and questioners and ideators are different because. Okay, so you want to find how they are alike and how they are different. Part F, after reading, you have to look at the bold words, okay, and find what these pronouns are referring to. Okay, what are they referring to in the paragraph? One critical thinking exercise includes classifying information. So when you classify information, you arrange ideas into different types or categories according to how they are similar to each other. For example, in reading 2, the author classified people into 5 different problem-solving types to show what is special about each one. When you classify, you're better able to see similarities and differences among the categories. Okay, so this is nothing new, all right? When you are grouping or categorizing, you're basically able to more easily access information in your thoughts, okay, and explain similarities and differences through your experience in life, okay? And it happens with almost everything. We can lump together things, okay? Just like university, we have different faculties, right? Different faculties are similar in grouping different kinds of sciences or humanities, or they could be more specific, like graduate schools or general freshman classes, right? So anyway, when you put them together in different categorizations, okay, you can understand more quickly how they are effectively special or different. So we're going to watch a critical thinking video.
Welcome to the Critical Thinking Strategy for Unit 6. The strategy for this unit is classifying information. Classifying helps you see similarities and differences between different groups of people, places, or things. This skill can be useful for dividing information up into logical chunks, which makes it easier for our brains to process. Classifying is very common in the sciences and social sciences. For example, in the sciences, we classify animals into different kinds of species. If we didn't have a classification system, the amount of animals we would have to keep as a big lump in our minds would be huge. As another example, in psychology, we classify people into different personality types. For example, extroverts are people who gain energy from going out and meeting other people. On the other hand, introverts are people who regain energy by enjoying time alone. By categorizing these personalities, it helps us understand people better and deal with them on a more personal level. When you classify information, you arrange ideas into different types or categories according to the similar features they have. For example, how would you classify these three types of vehicles? Cars, vans, and SUVs. What feature do they share? Here's a hint. Cars, which are often used for city driving, carry passengers. Vans also carry passengers, usually many at one time. And SUVs, which are used for off-road driving, also carry passengers. So, all three of these automobiles can be classified as passenger vehicles. Now, let's practice. Look at the list of school subjects. How would you classify them into three different categories? Which subjects are similar to each other? Biology, chemistry, and physics are all kinds of science. The second classification is languages, which includes English, French, and Spanish. Then there's a third group. Algebra, calculus, and geometry are all kinds of math. Can you think of other ways to categorize this information? The great thing about categorizing is that depending on how you are dividing the information, you can end up with many different outcomes. Try categorizing the school subjects into easy, a little difficult, and difficult categories. When you compare with a partner, you might be surprised by how they categorize the information. Now, let's recap today's lesson. When you classify information, you are putting ideas into different groups that share similar qualities. For example, physical properties, functions, or other types of sorting. This helps you to see similarities and differences, and make comparisons more easily. When you classify, remember to ask yourself, how many categories are there? And what is similar among each category? Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm hoping that's going to work as a video. Otherwise, I'll have to post it separately. But I think you can also watch this online. So you can categorize these different problem solvers. Okay, reading to you can help you. And what kind of problem solver do you think like the most? Okay. Again, what kind of problem solver do you think like the most? You don't need to write 8 sentences, but you can write a few to show that you understand the question. Basically, which one are you? Okay, page 146 is a video. Let's hope this also works, because BBC always seems to shut us down on YouTube try it. Is it possible to know when something good or bad will happen before it happens? What is your opinion? So you can write that down again in your book or anywhere I can see it. There's not a lot of room here. But they do have some different vocabulary here. Crew, backdraft, intuition, and subconsciously. So, in fact, if you have been thinking about some words to consider this question, you might want to use these in your answer. Intuition and subconsciously are some really good words that might help you answer this question. Okay, if you have good intuition, or if you have perhaps some subconscious ideas that you reference when you are thinking about something before it happens. Right? Anyway, we're going to watch the video and hopefully it works. And then we're going to identify which words that fit into part B. And then we're going to extend. The video suggests that people can make good decisions to help others very quickly in an emergency situation. What is an example of a quick decision you've made to help someone? So you can answer that question as well, but let's watch the video.
Andy Kirk had worked as a fireman for over 20 years when he experienced a day he would never forget. The way he acted saved people's lives and shows us how our brains have powers we aren't normally aware of. Andy and his team were called to a fire in a bingo hall, and Andy decided that it was safe enough to send his crew into the building. After 5 minutes, Andy and his team felt like they were getting the fire under control. Then suddenly, Andy had a strange feeling.
I was sure that something out of the ordinary was going to happen.
Despite the protests of his team, Andy insisted that the firemen left the building. Seconds later, without warning, a huge explosion ripped through the building, bringing down the roof and destroying the walls. Andy's intuition had saved his men from one of the most dangerous phenomena in firefighting, a backdraft. Backdrafts occur in enclosed fires, when all the oxygen has been burnt up and the fire becomes explosively unpredictable. His brain had identified this potential danger, even though he wasn't aware of it. There's a part in the front of the brain always scanning the world around us, comparing our immediate to our past experience. In Andy's case, he compared the fire in the bingo hall with every fire he'd seen before. In a flash, his scanning brain noticed 3 things that weren't quite right. Firstly, the color of the smoke was very orange, unlike most fires. Secondly, air was rushing into the building instead of out as usual. And finally, there was no sound. Normally a fire crackles as it burns up oxygen. Andy's mind had compared these signs with his previous experience in normal fires and sent him a warning signal, an intuition.
Little snapshots of time and space that we were seeing, that I was registering subconsciously, gave me the feeling of uneasiness.
Andy's actions show our brains are constantly at work to keep us alive. Our unconscious minds are more powerful than we even realize.
Finish that page and then synthesize. We're going to look at each phrasal verb here. Sorry, not yet. First of all, look at all of that you've learned so far, reading 1, 2, and the video, and choose one question and write a paragraph. How about this? Just take a look at each question and write 1 or 2 sentences that explains that you understand the question. Okay. think about a friend or a family member who usually makes good decisions. Why do you think he or she is a good decision maker? Okay, might be your best friend or your mom, anyone that you think makes the best decisions. What are factors that can make people make bad decisions? Are they factors people can control or not control? Okay. So a factor could be, factor just means a reason or a situation. Okay. In some cases, it might be something that we have control over, such as spending your own money. Okay, that's if you have extra income, okay, or even not extra income, but the money that you earn or that you have, money is usually self-involved, right? You can choose to make good or bad decisions with your own money. But something like your health might be completely different in reality, right? Number 3, do you think people generally think only one way, or is it possible for someone to think in many different ways? That's a huge, crazy question, but I look forward to your responses. Basically, are we ants or are we free thinkers? Phrasal verbs are talked about in the vocabulary skill. It's basically the combination of a verb and a particle. So move on, deal with, okay, are different from the verb on its own, deal and move. When they're combined, it changes the meaning. So a phrasal verb, there's lots of different ways and to interpret them, okay? But you can look at the examples in the readings to help you, okay? And then match them with your definitions on page 148, and finally apply them to these sentences, okay? And there's more practice online. The writing section is up to you. If you feel that you have a good score, but you don't want to miss that A+, you want to do a little bit extra to make sure, in case of a tie, you have done the most work. Okay, you can go through the writing section, or if you just want to learn a bit more about writing, in either way, I will write it down to show your extra effort. And in the case of a tie, I will be looking closely at which students have done the most work. Okay, so if you're worried about getting that A+ compared to other students, or if you just want to write a bit more and understand written English a bit more, both scenarios, I will be taking notes of your efforts. There goes through a writing model all the way through to page 153. It talks about gerunds, which is the verb plus ing. You've all used these before in the past and you're familiar with them, but there is an IQ online workshop anyway. You can do some composition here. Finally, there's a writing task. And all of this stuff is very helpful if you are in it to win it, okay? But I won't expect everyone to do the writing section. I will still give you points on completion if you do not do the writing section. But I expect that a few of you have already done this in the past and are improving significantly their written fluency, and I'm glad for it, and I hope you keep it up. Revise and edit. Everyone can do this. Take a look at what you've learned so far in the unit, and think about what you've done and what you've learned. The next page is our next unit. We're not going to go there today. So you can stop here if you haven't already. And I think that's about it for today. Remember, if you have a Wednesday class with me, May 5th and May 19th are off. We have some makeup classes in June for that, but it's weird because it's after the exam, so it'll probably be something fun, just an attendance check, and then whatever else I can think of, but it won't be a long class. But we will be missing some of the unit answers. I could maybe make it up to you on those days, but or I could try to go over the answers more quickly on our next week. Okay. So anyway, all right, guys. I think that's it. Give it your best shot. Do as well as you can, and I will see you on the next video or in the next Zoom. Bye for now. Take care.